This lesson introduces you to this verb, to the irregular verb possum, potui, which means to be able. Conjugating it is really quite easy. In order to conjugate possum in the present system, that is the tenses which are formed off of the first principal part, so this is going to be the present, indicative and subjunctive, the imperfect, and the future. All you do is you take the stem pot and add a form of sum. The only exception is that this T is going to assimilate to an S when the form of sum begins with S. So instead of potsum, this T becomes sum, you, becomes possum. But in the second person singular, you are able, it goes back to the T. So potes, potest, in the first person plural, possumus. All right, so that pot is going to go to an S because sumus begins with S. Possumus, potestis, you are able, and possunt, they are able. Again, the T assimilates to an S because sunt begins with an S. Now, if we move into the imperfect, all the forms of sum, poteram, poteras, poterat, poteramus, poteratus, poterant, all of those forms don't begin with S, therefore we're going to keep the pot stem. And the same with the future. Potero, poteris, poterit, and so on. All of these stems are going to stay T because the form of sum does not begin with an S. Now if we look at the present subjunctive, you remember the forms of subjunctive of sum are sim, sis, sit, simus, sitis, sint. All of these forms begin with S, therefore we're going to use the pos stem. Possim, possis, possit, possimus, possitus, possint. So conjugating in the present, imperfect, and future is really quite easy if you can conjugate the verb sum, to be. The imperfect subjunctive and the perfect tenses are perfectly normal. They conjugate regularly. Remember that the imperfect subjunctive is going to use the infinitive. So it's going to be possem, possess, right? We've got the infinitive plus the personal endings. Possem, possess, posset, possemos, possatus, possent. And the perfect tenses, these are the perfect, pluperfect, future perfect, and perfect, and pluperfect subjunctive. They're going to be formed off of this fourth principal part, potui, and they're formed perfectly normally. Now the last thing to remember about the verb possum, potui, is that it will use a complementary infinitive. That is, you'll have a form of possum and an infinitive to tell you what you are able to do. So it completes the idea of possum. So I am able possum ambulare. I am able to walk. Or poteras, you used to be able to finish. I don't know what you were able to finish. Poteras finire. You used to be able to finish. There are a number of other verbs that will take complementary infinitives. We've already in Moreland and Fleischer run into the verb opto. I desire, I want to love, opto amare. And in Chapter 5 of Moreland and Fleischer, we run into debeo, I ought. So, debeo ambulare, I ought to walk. Debes currere, you ought to run. So these infinitives in each of these situations are what we call complementary infinitives. And they are complementary because they complete the idea of possum, or of the main verb, opto, debeo, and so on.